Hey guys, welcome to the Common Sense Football Show. Today we're going to cover the managerial appointment of Frank Lampard back at Chelsea. We're also going to cover the Premier League games yesterday, which were Manchester United versus Brentford, West Ham versus Newcastle, and we'll go through the Copa del Rey game, which was Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and sort of preview the upcoming games on the weekend. So, big news for Chelsea. Frank Lampard getting a second appointment as the Chelsea manager. From reports yesterday, it looked as if Luis Enrique was the favourite to get the Chelsea job. He was in London yesterday for talks with the Chelsea hierarchy about getting the vacant job. So it looked as if that Luis Enrique would get the job. Late yesterday, we got news that things have been agreed between Chelsea and Frank Lampard for him to get the job as a caretaker till the end of the season. Now listen, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I'm also, I don't care about Chelsea. I don't care if they're successful or anything like that. But like I've said, I'll try and give an objective view and opinions. Chelsea are a big club and they need a big manager. And Luis Enrique is probably the best available manager at this moment in time. Nagelsmann's also a good manager. So either of those would be a good fit for Chelsea. And it looked as if Luis Enrique was pretty much odds on to get the job. Now, I don't understand. Listen, all due respect to Frank Lampard. Phenomenal player. One of the best goal-scoring midfielders in the Premier League, of all time, in the world of all time. Phenomenal player, legend. But as a manager, he is not Premier League standard. He done all right at Derby. Chelsea gave him a bit, done him big favours, loaning out their players towards him because of their connections. He came to Chelsea. He done all right considering the transfer ban, got them into the top four. And then the second season, he didn't do so well. Thomas Tuchel came in, won Chelsea the Champions League, took them to another level. Then he goes to Everton, keeps them up, barely, only because there were a couple more teams worse than Everton. Second season, they were terrible. Awful tactics, awful team selections. Frank Lampard is obviously a limited and tactically inept coach. So why would Chelsea bring him back in? They've got a massive game next week in the Champions League against Real Madrid. It would be a really Chelsea thing to do for them to win the Real Madrid, for them to win the Champions League, considering the shit season that they've had. But it would be a real Chelsea thing to do for them to actually win the Champions League from this point, because they've done it before. But I don't fancy Chelsea's chances with Frank Lampard at the helm, especially when Real Madrid are a superior team than Chelsea and they have Carlo Ancelotti in charge. And I don't fancy Frank Lampard beating Carlo Ancelotti in a tactical match. I mean, it's not going to happen. Wouldn't it make more sense for them to bring Luis Enrique in, for him to have a look at the squad, have a look at the players, see the players he wants, see the players he doesn't want for next season and this coming transfer window, and prepare, have a pre-season. And Luis Enrique would probably fancy his chances to win the Champions League from this point with this Chelsea team. I mean, he would have a much better chance than Lampard. So I just don't get the thinking. I mean, maybe they're thinking Frank can come in, Chelsea, hero, get the fans back on side, steady the ship. It's only a caretaker role, so steady the ship until they make a permanent appointment. But there's no guarantee that Nagelsmann will be available come the summer. that Luis Enrique is going to be available come the summer. So surely a big club like Chelsea should act like a big club and get a big manager now. Let him prepare. Let him see the players he wants. He doesn't want. Give him a crack at the whip in the Champions League. But they've gone for this uninspiring appointment, and you know, listening to Chelsea fans, some are happy, but some are not happy, and they just don't. They know that Frank Lampard isn't at the level that was required at Chelsea. He's a Championship manager at best. He's definitely not a Premier League manager for a top team. So I found that appointment really strange. And as a Chelsea, you know, if I was a Chelsea fan, you know, I'd be really worried about the direction that Chelsea are going in, because the hierarchy the decisions the hierarchy are making seem to be quite strange, but maybe they have a master plan and they're going to get it right. So we just have to wait and see in the future. On yesterday's games, we had Manchester United that faced off with Brentford at Old Trafford. Routine win for Manchester United, 1-0 win. Rashford scoring again. It was a straightforward game for Manchester United. They had the lion's share of possession, 65%, much more shots, 18, 3 on target, compared to Brentford, 6-1 on target and 35% possession. So Man United were, you know, very comfortable throughout that game. It was a big subject of discussion if Weghorst was going to start. He didn't start yesterday. You had an attacking four of Anthony, Sancho and Rashford, with Bruno as a 10. Sabitzer played quite well yesterday. McTominay played quite well yesterday. It was pretty much Man United's usual back four with Dalot, Varane, Martinez and Luke Shaw and De Gea in goal. So yeah, it was a pretty straightforward win for Manchester United. Rashford on the score sheet again. What a season he's having. I do think Manchester United will get into the top four along with Newcastle. If they finish third or fourth, I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure they're going to get into the top four. Southampton, they just have to tick this game off. They've got 8 games left, I believe, to try and consolidate their Premier League survival. It's tight down there, like I said, between 12th and 20th. So if they can try to accrue as many points as they can, they might be able to survive. So it's going to be really interesting to see who gets into the top four and to see who gets relegated and who survives. So let's keep an eye on that, guys. We also had Newcastle, who were away to West Ham. Phenomenal by Newcastle. 5-1 win. West Ham were really poor. They were really poor. There were a couple of mistakes that they made defensively that they were punished for with goals, but West Ham are really poor. I do think West Ham will survive. They're too good to go down. David Moyes' job isn't under threat at the moment, so it shouldn't be. They will survive, but yesterday was quite poor. Newcastle, they're turning it on just at the right time. The win against Manchester United on the weekend and the win yesterday against West Ham, they were really dominant. The possession was it wasn't too uneven. Newcastle having 58% to West Ham's 42%, but almost doubled the attempts on by Newcastle. 15 to West Ham's 7, 8 on target for Newcastle to West Ham's 2. So, you know, it was a really good game by Newcastle. I'm really, really impressed with Isaac's good signing. He had a little injury that sort of stopped his progression, but since he's come back from injury, the difference that he's made in terms of Newcastle being able to score. Callum Wilson on the score sheet again with a tidy little header. I mean, yeah, it was a really, 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 really good performance by Newcastle. Joe Linton scored 2. Callum Wilson also scored 2, to be honest, and Isaac got the other one. So, you know, things are really looking good for Newcastle. I do fancy them to finish third. And, you know, from being taken over till now, what a phenomenal job Eddie Howe's done. Really smart signings. Not going for the crazy Hollywood signings, getting, you know, good players with good characters and good temperaments, you know, like Trippier, and the defenders, Botman, Dan Burn, really, really good signings. So Newcastle, they really look to be going in the right direction, probably ahead of schedule, and I do fancy them, along with Manchester United, to finish off in the last two top four places. We also had the Copa del Rey game, which was between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Real Madrid really, really spanking Barcelona. I believe it was 4-0. Benzema scored a hat-trick and Vinny got the other one. So I believe that puts Real Madrid in the final. Really good game. You know, Real Madrid were dominant. Quite surprising because Barcelona were in the new camp. They were at home, but you know, Real Madrid were really dominant. I fancy Real Madrid to win the Copa del Rey now. They're in the final. You know, for Barcelona, in the cups this year, they've not done so well. Out of the Europa League, via Manchester United, out of the Copa del Rey by Real Madrid, but it looks like they're going to win the league, so they wouldn't be too dishappy about that. Real Madrid, they're probably going to get another Copa del Rey, and I do fancy them. You know, Benzema's in top form, Vinny's a great player, Benzema's a phenomenal player, so I really do fancy Real Madrid to have too much for Chelsea, especially the fact that Chelsea, you know, they could have had Luis Enrique in charge of them, and that would have been a bit more of an even game, but with Frank Lampard in charge, he's tactically inept, and I just don't give Chelsea any chance against Real Madrid in the Champions League next week. But yeah, really, really good game yesterday in the Copa del Rey, and Real Madrid really, really impressive, really, really impressive. So, like I've said, the big game on the weekend is Arsenal versus Liverpool. Some people think that this could be a title decider. I think that any team going for the title, if you've got Liverpool away from home and you manage to beat Liverpool in their own backyard at Anfield, that is a phenomenal, phenomenal statement. And not only a phenomenal statement, but for the confidence of the team, what that will do. So is it a title decider? I don't think it is, because there's still a long way to go. But for the momentum and the confidence that will give Arsenal, it's a massively key game. In terms of potential signings that Arsenal could make, Declan Rice seems to be the hot topic and seems to be the favourite player for Arsenal to add to strengthen that midfield. How do I feel about that signing? I'm a little bit indifferent. I do think that Declan Rice is a little bit overrated, as you know, a lot of English players are. He's not having a very good season this season. The price he's going to cost, having 1 year left on his contract, 80 to 100 million. I think it's a lot of money. I mean, I'll trust Arsenal. So far with the recruitment, Edu and Arteta have been great, and I'll trust them and I'll trust the process. But I would prefer Caicedo from Brighton compared to Declan Rice. I believe he's younger than Declan Rice and he's a superior player. But if they want Declan Rice as a 6 in that defensive midfield role, I think he could do a job. And maybe he'll improve with better coaching and better players around him, because things at West Ham look to be getting a bit stale, and it looks like he's looking towards other clubs. Looks like he's looking towards Arsenal, to be honest with you. There's been reports that he was at Gabriel Jesus' birthday party this week. So, a West Ham player at Gabriel Jesus' birthday party, which would be mostly Arsenal players, seems a bit strange. So the links with Arsenal and Declan Rice are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So you guys comment, tell me what you guys think about the topics discussed today. Leave a comment, please like, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.